Following Palpatine's instructions, Darth Vader was now in charge of the Inquisitors. One time, after a gruesome training, Darth Vader met up with the Grand Inquisitor, in which he shortly learned that the Grand Inquisitor had a Jedi survivor list given to him by Sidious himself to locate and find any Jedi who had escaped the Purge. One notable Jedi that was highlighted with priority was Jocasta, and Vader realized this quickly. The danger of her survival wasn't just that she escaped, but that she had plans of her own, and Palpatine would very soon be aware of this. Residing in a mysterious location, we see Jocasta recording holocrons in hopes that one day she will complete an enormous archive of hers, using it for future and new Jedi. In fact, this holocron in the future will be used by Luke Skywalker, who in fact started his new Jedi Order. Years later, after the destruction of the Empire, Jocasta went on to explain that this holocron included her thoughts on the purpose of her order, the light that it brings to the galaxy, why it must never be allowed to die, and why it never will. Placing it with all the other holocron, Master Jocasta was working tirelessly, and her assistant Gar had noticed this. However, it stood to reason that nobody else in the galaxy possessed the knowledge that Jocasta had. Therefore, she would not rest until she completed her mission. Her work is not complete, and it is her exclusivity to knowledge that bothered the Grand Inquisitor, who was never given permission to outright read everything in the Jedi library, blocked completely by Jocasta herself. He expresses his wishes to kill her finally when they find her. Vader, however, had different plans. His first thought was to meet with Emperor Palpatine and discuss Jocasta's future. Seeing no other choice to complete her final work, Jocasta accepted the reality that she needed to return to the Jedi Temple if she wanted things done properly. When Gar saw the box that Jocasta lifted, he knew what she was referring to. Her lightsaber inside. She needed to go back to Coruscant. As much as Gar would plead, Jocasta admitted that however much knowledge she has put into these holocrons, she hasn't built an archive. She has built a school. She therefore made new arrangements. She had to retrieve something, and that something would be very, very dangerous. What we ultimately learn is that Jocasta's plans was to retrieve the list of Force-sensitive children within the Jedi Temple. In this manner, she would go on to locate all these Force-sensitive children and teach them the ways of the Jedi within her newly found school, or simply a new Jedi Order. Gar seemingly was befuddled, but Jocasta set her mind to this. She had created a school, and a school needed students. Now Vader would finally meet with his master. This was his chance to ask him about Jocasta. Why did Sidious fear this Jedi the most? Why was she a priority? In fact, it was during that time that Jocasta had already landed on Coruscant and left her ship to be supervised by her astromech droid B2. She now took out something that she hadn't used in quite some time. It was something that she thought she would never see again, her Jedi lightsaber. You see, their work together might still not be complete, and it would take one more mission for her finally to revive the remnants of the Jedi Order. Ah yes, Jocasta, as Sidious said with a mocking grin. Even spewing her name gave Sidious the chills. The former lead archivist of the Jedi Order. She was ancient and she was middling with the Force, recognizing though that she was barely competent with a lightsaber. However, that crone, as Sidious called her, could end everything that the Sith were trying to do. For you see, Jocasta knows everything. Sidious was well aware that Jocasta's knowledge would ultimately lead to the re-emergence of the Jedi Order, something that they fought tooth and nail to wipe out. If the Empire and the Sith were to stood on the throne as they did now, the Jedi needed to be extinct. This is what Sidious feared the most. Until Jocasta Nu could be located, Sidious would not rest. In fact, you could pretty much assume that Jocasta Nu was more important than any Jedi to locate at this moment. More so than Yoda, more so than Kenobi, more so than everybody else. Grinding his teeth, Sidious's hate for the Jedi came back. The Jedi Order held their power in the Republic for far too long, according to Sidious, and they abused that power. They laid claim to every site of interest in the Force across the entire galaxy. They implemented shrines and wells of energy and even ancient temples. They took them. They took everything. They believed that these ancient ruins were theirs by right to claim. It was all Jedi hubris, Jedi arrogance, and ultimately Sidious knew that that is what took them down. But again, Sidious reverted back to Jocasta Nu. You see, all the Jedi plundered all of these sites, these ancient ruins, took on all the knowledge, and ultimately brought it back to Coruscant, where Jocasta Nu had to guard this knowledge. Therefore, Sidious knew that not only was Jocasta Nu versed in new Force knowledge, but she was versed in every ancient knowledge as well. She knew not just the secrets of the light side of the Force, but the dark side as well. Secrets that were not theirs to keep. Secrets even of the ancient Sith. Jocasta Nu knows all of them. Sidious went so far as to call Jocasta Nu little better than a witch. Vader understood. He will see to her death personally, but Sidious had different plans. He could sense his eagerness to kill Jocasta. However, all these desires must be set aside. You see, Sidious was, as always, thinking long-term. The capture of Jocasta Nu would heed more power to Sidious than ever imagined. The containment of knowledge that was in the brain of Jocasta Nu was more valuable than her non-existence. If Sidious and the Empire could capture Jocasta, torture her, and use different methods of revealing her knowledge and her treasures within the Jedi Temple that she held, it would be invaluable. Sidious went on to tell Vader also that the Inquisitors were not aware of this. All they were given was a list. There is a risk Jocasta falling into any hands but ours. Her knowledge could easily be used against us, said Sidious, still contemplating that Jocasta could be the end of the Empire. His fear for Jocasta Nu was unrivaled. Whatever the future holds for Jocasta Nu, for Sidious there were two simple answers. Either they capture her or she will die. Any other option could spell the death of the Empire and therefore the death of Sidious as well. The Grand Inquisitors and the rest were well aware of the woman, and they didn't need to know her importance. All they needed to do was to be useful in capturing Jocasta Nu, but in the end, the Inquisitors were not Sith. Sidious could feel that undoubtedly Jocasta Nu was already plotting some self-righteous scheme to change the destiny of the galaxy. In his mind, it was probably too late for her plans, but inevitably she will make some grand foolish gesture that will end in her capture or death, and Sidious preferred to capture her. Now Jocasta had entered the ruins of the temple. Vader was tasked by Sidious to locate, find, and capture Jocasta Nu. He must save her life. In capture, the Sith will be even more powerful than they are now. The Empire would grow to unsustainable length with the knowledge located that Jocasta Nu would provide. Unfortunately for Sidious and the Empire, the capture of Jocasta Nu would prove to be futile, as Vader tried to capture Jocasta Nu within the Jedi Temple. However, what she did was she accepted her defeat. She erased every single archive within the Jedi Temple, and lastly be captured by Vader, who went on to be exposed by Jocasta Nu. Not only did she reveal to other clone troopers that he was the former Jedi General Anakin Skywalker, but she also taught Vader a lesson that Sidious was looking to ultimately replace him, and that's why he was after the Force-sensitive children's list. Vader would go on to destroy the vessel they were on, which resulted in the death of Jocasta Nu, and in the end, Vader would crush the Force-sensitive children's list and informed Sidious that they could not gain anything from Jocasta Nu. The list was gone, she had erased the list, and now she was dead. What we learn from the Sith is that not only are they backstabbing, but they will go to enormous lengths to ensure their survival. For me, in the end, Jocasta's plan and Jocasta's wishes came true, because as we see in the last page, Luke Skywalker, in what we can assume is after Return of the Jedi, and after he decides to ultimately start a new Jedi Order with the teachings of the old Jedi Order and Jocasta Nu, he finds this rich archive of Jedi knowledge that Jocasta Nu had left behind. The holocrons and the teachings that she had accumulated there would not only give Luke Skywalker the proper knowledge to continue the Jedi tradition and start anew, but would give him the opportunity to amass a large amount of students. Something that Jocasta Nu knew an order would need. A school needs students, and that's why Luke Skywalker benefited a lot from everything that Jocasta Nu fought for. In the end, the Jedi Order and Jocasta's wishes were saved and were revived. If it was for the better or for the good, the sequel trilogy left a lot of things answered and unanswered all at the same time. Of course, let me know what you guys think about this whole ordeal down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, leave a thumbs up down below, subscribe for dailies. Now you can have an awesome day, Star Wars fans. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you until then.